Okay, so I'm pleased, very pleased to be with you here today. I know I'm following into very big footsteps here, and I'm very happy to have been invited by the Workers' Compensation Board of Nova Scotia. Thank you for taking the leadership to organize this event. The Fall Federal Forum is now part of the language. We need to make sure that it happens every year, but also that other boards follow your lead. Maybe next year it'll be Newfoundland, Labrador. Shout out to our colleagues on the webcast. Hopefully you're all able to see us. Puis bonjour aux collègues qui sont francophones dans le système fédéral. So I have to tell you, I'm happy to come and share a bit of my perspectives on leadership and talk to you about the federal family a little bit. I must tell you, my background is in ethics. I was I was the executive director of the Center for Values, Integrity, and Conflict Resolution at Fisheries and Oceans for 5 years. And that particular job did give me, surprisingly, a lot of skills that I can transfer into this particular job. Because in my view, every endeavor, every effective leadership must be a shared leadership. And everyone can be a model for others. To be a leader is to set the tone for a lot of things, including ethical conduct, with behavior that's based on values while achieving effective outcomes. Like Stuart said this morning, everyone can be a leader. Our conception of leadership has changed over the years, pretty significantly. In the past, a leader was a boss. A boss told others what to do and relied on rank and authority to ensure that it got done. Today, we're expected to be more than that when we're leaders. Leaders should have a vision that serves as a rallying point to those who are around us and should be able to collaborate and partner with others to achieve those results. It has less to do with the title you hold or the place you work from than the principles and values you hold. This is the brand of shared leadership we envision in the Federal Workers' Compensation Service. Claims under the JICA that Jean-François talked about this morning, the Government Employees Compensation Act, are managed by 3 distinct parties, and we recognize that. You have the employers subject to the JICA. There's 180 federal organizations under the JICA, and some have a lot of claims, and some not so much. So when you are the Commissioner of Official Languages, and maybe you have one workplace accident every 10 years, maybe it takes you 365 days to report that particular accident because you don't know what to do with it. And we have our workers' compensation boards. There are 10 of them that work actively on our files. And of course, you have the labor program. So we're a small component, and we understand that. But we are one that can create some pretty significant irritants from what I understand. So for us, in order for the program to flow smoothly, strong partnerships and shared leadership is a must. So partnerships aren't only possible with active listening and open channels of communications with others. We have to work horizontally as well as vertically. Our program has increased its efforts to keep the lines of communication open with our federal employers and with WCB partners, increasing opportunities for active listening and engagement. In our recent discussions with the worker compensation boards, we've invited feedback on our existing systems and compensation processes while working collaboratively on new agreements. I have to say, the first time we called out to the 10 boards, when we said we'd like to reopen these agreements that were signed in the late 90s, some said, okay, good luck with that. And some said, you know what, why don't you call us next year? Because we have a lot of stuff to do right now, and there's a lot of priorities. So, and if I understand correctly, a little bit like Jean-François mentioned this morning with respect to the relationship and somebody saying, you know what, you've moved the bar so much in the past 3 months compared to the past 17 years. Let's just say labor program hasn't always been a collaborative, collective worker. and wanting to work with WCBs as opposed to, you know, that old style of leadership and saying, okay, this is what we'd like, please do it. So we're happy to be part of that chain of changing how things are working. We are looking at getting rid of that countersignature, 100%. Okay. And we also hope to jointly address these as we develop new agreements that are in step with modern disability management practices that we want for our employees. Listening is a good first step, and we value the expertise of the WCBs, and we're learning from you. We have similarly heard from our federal employers. In early 2015, the Labor Program created the Interdepartmental Consultation Committee. What a mindset to think that we should get together with the top 15 employers, top 15 meaning the ones who use the system the most, and consult them on what we were negotiating with the workers' compensation boards, because they're the ones who are going to have to respect the agreement and put it in place. So we're the ones acting on your behalf. It's a little bit like Treasury Board, right? So we're the Treasury Board in this context as it addresses the issue of representing all the employers. So for the ICC, we have Canada Post, we have Correctional Services, DFO, D&D, CFIA, Parks, CRA, CBSA, Public Works and Government Services, ESDC, Agriculture, and the RCMP has joined us because they wanted to be part of the group. So those are employers who come and meet with us once a month, and we discuss what's on the horizon, where we can do better, and also to make sure that we have linkages within that are not only on an operational basis, case by case, but actually talking about our policy changes and basically a consultation committee for us. It's also a place where we can listen, learn from past experience, agree on common solutions to common challenges. We've also strived to enhance our own internal partnerships within Labor Program and within ESDC. So when we're negotiating these agreements, we have to make sure that they're things that we can actually espouse and make happen. So we need to ensure our legal services are on side, that our IT people are on side, our privacy management, our financial management and advisory services, everyone together, we have the same common objective. We've also been working closely with our colleagues in, well, my colleague in OSH, right, in Occupational Health and Safety in the Labor Program. They're responsible for people under Canada Labor Code Part 2, and they are also partners in this way because in many WCBs, you're not just looking at workers' compensation, but you're also looking at the preventative piece and looking at the OSH component. So from listening that we've done, and by building the internal networks, and also by looking at the JICA studies, there have been a few studies, I have to say, on JICA, on the model. I think we're up to 12 or 15 that we've counted over the past 30 years. To see how best we can improve the system. And what we found is that there's some easy pickings there. The service agreements are definitely something that we need to improve upon. Jean-François was mentioning the 1990s. Ontario is the most recent that was negotiated in 2005, so it's a little bit more modern. But most of them in the late 90s, and we just need to move that bar and just get into something a little bit more today, more 2015. Also getting rid of that paper-based approach. So having this morning, you know, there was the description of an employee has an accident, reports to their supervisor, reports to the manager, reports by the time it gets all the chain back to the WCB, the average time, 30 days. That's 30 days that the employee's home, waiting to know, calling maybe the supervisor, is my claim adjudicated? It's not the adjudicator that's taken the time. It's all this process. And I'm happy to say, where's Jennifer and the 9th floor colleagues, Annie Lafont colleagues, it's no longer labor program that's the holdup, because labor program is now under 48 hours turnaround. Most of the time we're 24 hours. So thanks to Canada Post for pushing us in the back during the whole summer, but since August 10th we've been under those 2 days in labor programs. So that's a huge, huge change in the system for us. So we just need to get the employers to join our crew. And if we can get to electronic reporting, that'd be fantastic. The other thing that we found is that we haven't really been focusing from the labor program perspective on return to work and stay at work programs and performances. So we're going to start that dialogue, and from an influence perspective, not from a legislative perspective, try and help and support you in that work. So we've all gathered here today due to a shared responsibility to improve outcomes for ill and injured federal employees. And in order to do this, we really want to maximize the partnerships. This means that our roles and responsibilities must be clearly delineated in a way that best serves those workers who have suffered those illness or injuries. However, it doesn't mean that these roles and responsibilities should necessarily remain static. If you want to do something new, you have to stop doing something old. So by changing our behaviors and actions and by modeling what we want, we have the power to change the culture. Our roles and responsibilities will evolve in line with emerging needs and our approach to federal workers' compensation as the work continues to progress. So this evolution will be embodied in the new service agreements. We talked about them this morning. We are modernizing those agreements together with a focus on partnership, mutual trust, and responsibility for all that's concerned. We will also provide for increased flexibility to adapt new and emerging situations. So for the boards, the roles and responsibilities will be clearly laid out in the new agreements, and this is a tribute to the commitment and dedication that the WCBs have as partners with us. And as you heard from Jean-François this morning, for the labor program, our aim is to provide policy and program advice and guidance on issues of workers' compensation. The federal family is a large one. Like I mentioned, we have 180 employers. And we are ready to step up and get out of the weeds, get out of the counter-signature, and provide more strategic enabling services. The roles and responsibilities do not determine leadership in and of themselves, but it will be in how we fulfill these that the leadership will come. Embodied in the values and principles expressed in the new service agreements, the emblem will be the trust between the labor program, the WCBs, and the employers. As such, the agreements will reflect mutual understanding of one another's unique qualities, capacities, and requirements. While the framework agreements lay out our shared vision, the appendices are where the principles of mutual awareness and recognition reside and become more operational. So the way we view the agreements is you have a framework, and in that framework, we're talking about the relationship. And the relationship will be one that can continue to evolve, but we're using words that are so big picture that those will probably be able to stand the test of time and continue to be enduring frameworks. But where we see the changes happening are in the actual appendices. So Jean-François went through them this morning. So we have the claims administration, technology, and all those. And as things move, we will be able to just change one appendix as opposed to reopening all the agreements and with all 10 WCBs at the same time. So we'll be able to stagger depending on how things evolve, because not all WCBs are ready at the same time. We met with Newfoundland Labrador yesterday. It feels like a long time ago because I took a plane, but and it was like amazing. We were just sitting there. Everybody was open mouthed because they were thrilled that we were saying, well, we'll get rid of counter-signature, and we were thrilled to hear that they've already got segregated employers and that they're ready to go. And it's like, oh my goodness, we'll actually be able to do this and do this quickly. So it's fantastic. And different boards are at different stages, right? So not everybody's ready. Not everybody's electronically ready to go. But we want to make sure that we're in step with all our partners. Possessing a vision and having a sense of mutual trust and understanding doesn't get you very far when you don't take the steps to realizing them. What separates words on a piece of paper from a vision through to fruition, what is that? Action. You said it this morning. So that's what we're trying to do. Many of you know that we've been working particularly closely with WorkSafe BC. It's actually been quite a lot of work, quite a lot of meetings, but it's been very fruitful. So what we've got is WorkSafe BC saw the renegotiations as an opportunity to improve outcomes quickly. It wasn't on their priority list. We weren't even in their strategic plan. We talked about that this morning. You know, everybody has business and bosses and performance appraisals for their own strategies. But at the end of the day, Joe Pinto decided, okay, I'll take this bull by the horns and I will proceed. And so we met, we traveled, we worked, we sent emails, I don't know how many versions we went through, 22 formal meetings and several informal meetings and one-offs and side discussions, but at the end of the day, we have a very good, solid draft agreement that they were willing to share with all WCBs as a model, which I think is fantastic because we don't have to, what did you say this morning, Case? Copy and steal everything. So thank you, WorkSafe BC, for helping us develop this one, and then we'll see with the others if it's something that we can apply and we can share and we can emulate. The board displayed leadership in involving both senior level executives and those at the working level, and we similarly wanted to obtain buy-in, and we did, from decision makers throughout the department in the early stages. This type of proactive action and level of participation models the spirit of cooperation and leadership that leads to successful outcomes. We're hoping, we've got a critical path in place now, and we're hoping that there'll be signatures in mid to late December. So that will be nice, if a nice early holiday gift. So action is important because it's a catalyst for culture change. And to bring about culture change, action is required, both at the working level and for those in senior level positions. As you know, we have a new minister, Marianne Mahaichuk. She has experience in the mining sector. She was a minister in the government of Manitoba. And when I was briefing her on her program on workers' compensation, she looked at me and she said, Maggie, do we have a zero workplace accident aim? I said, of course, Minister. Do we? I thought you were all going to yell, of course. So it only takes one of us to get the ball moving, but it takes all of us to bring it to where we want it to go. If you have a vision and shared sense of purpose and trust with your partners, and you're willing to take that crucial leap of faith, then you are a leader. By taking the first steps, we are seeking to change the processes and culture for the better. Great leaders set out to make a difference. It's never about the role, but always about the direction you take. And the journey. We talked about the journey this morning. And by moving forward, leaders will accomplish more than the science of management ever thought possible. Once again, thank you. It was a pleasure to spend a bit of time with you talking about leadership. We do think that we're on the right path, and we're happy to be with good partners on this journey. Merci.